Okay, joining us today on Best Dog Life is Jill Barsky. She is known as the Pet Friendly Realtor. Jill helps find homes for people and their animals. She truly lives by her motto. She donates a portion of every commission to a pet organization of the client's choice. She has been involved in animal rescue organizations even before she became a real estate broker. So today I wanted to chat with Jill to learn more about her profession, passion, and share her story. So thanks for joining us today, Jill.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
No, thank you. I know you're busy, so I appreciate you taking the time.
Sure.
Well, we will dive in. So just to start off with, what made you decide to combine your passion and your profession together?
So basically, I knew from a very young age that I wanted to do animals. Animals were my thing. You know, when every little girl was playing with baby dolls, I was out there rescuing every little blue jay and turtle and snake and you name it, I was bringing it home. And my parents just shook their head like, oh God. So as I grew older, thank goodness for my sister for having her kids because, my mom wanted grandkids. I was like, Mom, nope, sorry, you're getting dogs, cats, animals, everything. The plan was not for me to have kids. And I already knew that. I was like mother nature versus mother of kids. So that was me. So when I was in school, when I went to Maryland, my major was actually fashion merchandising and textile marketing. I thought I was going to be, textile. I love textiles. I thought this was my passion. This is where I'm supposed to be. So I took this marketing class, changed my life forever. I had this awesome professor, and he said to me, there's something inside of you that's more than what is fashion, in talking to me. I said, okay, that's fine. So in the job market, I worked for a corporation, a food chain for a long time after Maryland. And I was not happy. I knew, like, I just kept hearing him in the back of my head, there's got to be more out there. So literally, and I'm not advising anyone to do this, but I just up and quit. I mean, well, I not up and quit, but I left, gave my notice, did everything. I'd been there for about 6 years and I loved that job, but it wasn't my passion. So my mom's like, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. She's like, well, you really like to go look at open houses. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. So she's like, why don't you be a realtor? And I was like, okay, but no one in our family's ever been a real estate agent. She's like, you can do this. I'm like, okay. So I did. I got into it. And luckily, I had a phenomenal manager to start with who helped me. And we were talking about the pets just like this. And, she was saying, I see more to you than just real estate. You're always doing rescue. You're always volunteering at the shelter. You're always volunteering with this rescue. You're always doing this and this and this with the animals. There's got to be more. So I went home and I thought about my professor. And the one thing that he said to me was, find a need and fill it. That was his marketing philosophy. So I always took that with me all the time. Find a need and fill it. And so then I started thinking, wow, I could do something with real estate. I could do something with rescue. And so thus finding homes for people and animals, which is my trademark, was born.
Beautiful. Now that's a really interesting background there in terms of how you got to be doing that. So I also wanted just to ask another question, which is, you offer a really interesting service for pet owners. And so how do you actually help them find the right home for the whole family, including the pet?
Right. So the best thing that I can offer for everybody is everybody needs to be included. Every family member. It is the parents or whoever is buying the home. The kids are important. The pets are important. Everybody's important. And so when you're making the biggest decision, you have to decide, okay, what is our priority? Is it price? Is it location? What matters? Well, in my end of it, I get the clients who have the pets. And I'm very, very lucky because the clients that I get, for example, like I get a lot of senior citizens that I work with, and they're downsizing from their big houses, and they want to be able to take their pets with them. But you have to make sure that your realtor is always looking out for you, because if, like, say one of my clients, if they have 5 cats, like the cat lady, she's downsizing and she wants to go into a condo. The condo restrictions may be only 2 cats, you know? And if you don't know this ahead of time, and if you don't get the documents ahead of time, and you don't read and understand and know that there are state laws, there are county laws, there are city laws, there are condo laws, there are HOA laws, your client can end up not having the right house. And it's very, very sad, because then they're left with, well, do we keep the pets or do we keep the house?
Mm.
So there's a lot of talking back and forth with my clients, understanding their needs. Before the pandemic hit, it was a lot of people were traveling into work and they were really sad about leaving their pets at home. So my clients always said to me, you need to find me one close to a vet. You need to find me one close to doggy daycare. You need to find me a house close to my in-laws, because my in-laws are doing doggy daycare. You need to find me a house where my in-laws can move in and do pet daycare. I mean, so there's all different scenarios that I work with, but I always, if they have a pet or if they're planning to get a pet in the future, then we need to talk about that as well, because there are condo buildings that don't allow pets. So if you don't have a realtor who understands that I can't have a pet now, but that's not out of the question, then don't buy in a building that doesn't allow pets. But many realtors don't know that.
Wow, no, that's really impressive in the sense that, yeah, I can think of when I purchased homes, I haven't always looked at the fine print of what I could and couldn't have in terms of my pets. So I've probably been lucky, but you make a great point, and nobody would want to be in that situation where you're contemplating the house or the pet. That would be horrible.
It isn't. And then we've had ones where, like, for example, fence size. There are some communities that don't allow you even to have fences. There are some that only allow 4-foot fences. There are some that only allow certain kinds of fences. I had a client who wanted to build a ramp for her dog out front. So when they came in, we had to find out, would that be allowed? And of course, until you apply for the county permit, that's one thing. But if she's in this development, is the HOA going to give her a hard time if she puts this ramp in? Is it going to be allowed? So there's a lot of checking. And for me, and I say this to your followers, and I actually beg your followers, please don't just take someone's word for it. Do the extra research, get it in writing, double check. We as realtors, we're human too. We make mistakes. We want to make sure that you're taken care of. So always, always make sure that you get something in writing. And you can call a county office, you can call a city office, and they can say, oh yeah, it's allowed. But no, you find out after the fact, it's not allowed. So that is really important about getting it in writing.
Makes total sense. Yeah, to the biggest parts of your life, for sure, a house and your pet, so it makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, have you gotten any interesting pet related requirements from a client when they're trying to find a home, something that maybe even surprised you or was out of the ordinary?
Yes. So I had one phone call, and I really didn't actually believe him, but he's a reptile specialist.
Wow.
And he has an alligator. Well, he actually has several alligators, and it's kind of odd for Maryland. I'm like, is that even legal? Like, are we dealing, like, what's happening here? And he's like, I'm in a rental right now, and they're growing out of the bathtub. They're getting too big for the bathtub, and I need a safe place. So we had to literally go through all the requirements of fence height, of what he was allowed, where he was allowed. I mean, it was a process, let me tell you. Totally shocked to me, but he said, somehow, some way, my name got on a reptile site, and he's like, you're the person to call. You're the one that's going to help me. And I was like, okay, I'm the one that's going to help you. And sure enough, we made it work. But that was a lot of doing research about what he was allowed to do and what he can have and where and everything.
Wow, that's an impressive story. Who would have thought? But yeah, it seems like you were the perfect person for that job. I mean, you really have to have a passion for both sides of the not only the business but also the pet side of it. That's for sure. Um, um, so I know you were really passionate about helping animals in need. You know, there's a lot of stories out there, and I read that you joined animal rescues in post-Katrina, Mississippi, returning with a dog. Can you tell us about that story and the dog that you rescued?
I can. So my passion was I couldn't stand seeing all the things that were going on in Katrina. You know, my heart was breaking. I'm up here. I want to go down there. So literally, I told my husband, I told my family, I said, I'm packing and I'm going to Katrina. I'm going to help with Hurricane Katrina. And they're like, what? And Hurricane Rita hadn't even hit yet. So here I am trying to make plans to get down to Hurricane Katrina area, get down before Rita hits, make sure. And because of my rescue background, because of everything, because of I actually have a legitimate 501c3 rescue nonprofit of my own. I was able to, the Humane Society is actually close to me here in Maryland and in DC. There are two main offices. So I was actually granted a special exception to go down there with them, work with them, help them, be on the ground with them. I ended up in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and we were down there for a couple weeks, and it was something that it was an experience of a lifetime. I will never forget. It changed my life forever. Um, the animals were all in different areas. So you had like farm animals in one, you had cats in another, you had dogs in another, and we were sleeping in tents on cots. And you would just hear these crying, 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 all these animals crying because they don't know what's going on. The kennels were stacked 5 high, you know, hundreds across, all these missing animals. And that just brings me to just one point, though. It's very, very important to get your animals microchipped because there would have been a lot more reunions if the animals were microchipped. So many of them were not microchipped. So just decide. And if anyone wants information on microchipping, they can always reach out to me and I'm happy to help them. But anyway, so I was assigned a row in one of the barns with the dogs, and my passion's pit bulls, and it was where a lot of the pit bulls were. And I came across this tiny dog. His name is Forrest, and he's like a little shepherd mix, but he was in this tiny crate with other ones piled up on him, and he was really like very, very, very sick, very sick. And I went to the head vet and I said, can you call my vet? I want to take him home with me. Now, mind you, we weren't taking these home to keep them. That wasn't allowed at the time because, of course, the goal was to try and reunite the animals with their owners. But who knew what the situation was going to be? So we all had to sign agreements for X amount of time that we were not going to adopt out, keep, or whatever those animals because we really truly wanted to reunite these animals with their families if we could. This little dog was so sick. I mean, so sick. He was heartworm positive. He had cuts and bruises all over him. He wouldn't eat. He had a fever. I mean, really, the vet was telling me we have to euthanize him. And I was like, I said, do you think he can make the trip? Just let me try to take him home. You know, can you give him enough medicine? So I'm coming from Mississippi going to Maryland. You know, can you please just let me try to get him home? And I had promised my husband, one of the agreements was because we already had quite a few dogs here and a cat, that I wasn't going to bring any home for, you know, to foster or whatever, because we had enough here. So I actually didn't tell him. It was kind of like, hey, I showed up with Forrest. I named him after Forrest from Mississippi and like Forrest Gump. Um, and I called my vet ahead of time, and they were amazing, amazing, amazing. They got him in. He was in the vet for a couple weeks. but we got him, and we ended up having him for like 12 years because he was, I guess, a couple years old. And we always had the hope of trying to reunite him, but without microchip, I mean, he was posted on the sites, he was posted everywhere. We were never able to find the owners, but we gave him the life that he deserved. But the whole way home, I literally held him, I cradled him in my arms. I'm sorry, I cradled him in my arms, and I just was like, don't die. I love you. We're gonna care for you. But he's just one of so many. I mean, there's so many stories and so many true heroes in these rescues. It's just, you have to really experience. I mean, you see it on TV, but when you go there in real life and you see these animals, just the amount of suffering, the everything, that they're scared, and all they want to do is have someone to hold them and to be with them.
Wow, yeah, you really bring some perspective to that. We're lucky that there's people out there like you that are doing that, rescuing them and taking care of animals in need. So I know I'm very appreciative of your efforts.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I was also wondering, I mean, what do pet owners like most about working with you as a realtor? Obviously, you have you really do have a lot of experiences on both ends, not only on the pet end, but also on the, the business side of it. But what, when you hear feedback from folks, what do they say that's,
So first of all, okay, so you have to have a sense of humor when you're working with me.
okay.
Because in my car are all bright orange vests, and everybody has to understand that we will stop immediately if there's a loose dog running down the middle of the street. We're blocking traffic. Now, mind you, I'm not putting them in harm's way, but most of them usually want to jump in and help me. I've thrown my car, in the middle of 4 lanes of traffic with the blinkers on and everything, trying to get loose dogs and everything. And then they know that, oh, there's crazy Jill. She's, trying to get that loose dog. So we immediately stop house hunting. Priority number 1. And if you're good with that, then we get along fine. That's the rule of thumb. So most of my clients, I'd say pretty much all of them, they're supportive of that craziness. They understand. Or I'll call and say, okay, we have to go look at a house, but I have to set this trap first. And they're like, oh, okay. And then I'll tell them, I have to set this trap, but, I'm lugging this 6-foot trap into the woods, and, my hair is up and I've probably covered in ticks for a little while and I've got mud on me, but we're still going to go look at the house. You just don't look at how I look. I'm not one of those realtors who you see in the suit and heels most of the time. And they appreciate that. They know that I genuinely care about them. They genuinely know that the bottom line for me is not about the money at the end of the day, because I really want them to have a home for them, for their pets. I want it to be the right home. I'd rather them not buy something than buy something if it's not the right one. And they know that I will follow up, investigate, find out, make sure to the best of my ability, just like I said about all the different laws. Can they have the fence? Can they have the ramp? How close is the dog park? That's another one. They want dog parks to go to, or they want play groups. Is there, or sometimes now we have a pet friendly bar where you can bring the dogs to the bar outside, but how close is that? So my heart and soul when I'm doing these for my clients is to really find the perfect match for everybody in the entire family.
Great. Yeah, it's a very good capability to have, especially with so many dog and cat lovers here in Northern Virginia, Maryland, DC. So just, turning more towards you, we talked about what your customers really like, but, what's most satisfying for you?
Honestly, I've had clients who adopt after. They say, wow, we didn't think we were going to have this much room after, or, yeah, we can foster for you. Or the best one for me, and this is always a prerequisite. So if you're my client, be prepared for me to be calling, texting, crying on your doorstep, 911, that I need you to foster for like a couple hours until I can figure out the situation, or a day or two, or come help me, stop in the middle of the road, and my clients are amazing. I mean, they donate, they help, they spread the word. And so it's just been, I am actually the lucky one. I'm the blessed one because I have the best clients. I truly do. I adore them. I love them.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's good to see that it's reciprocal because they're lucky to have you as well. So,
So,
well, hey, Jill, I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to answer these questions. You've been great, and I think this will be really good for people to hear about. So, thank you very much for your time today.
oh, you're welcome. I appreciate it. And just make sure microchip your pets, please. Please.
Definitely.
Call me, let me know if you need help. Microchips.
Thank you.
Okay.